All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about the topic of network discovery and how it can assist you in your IT operations, and particularly how it ties to GroupLink's help desk solutions. You know, some of you may be asking, maybe not understand the term network discovery and what that is. Simply stated, it's a software or appliance-based solution that can help you use network standard protocols to locate, identify, and detail everything that is connected to your network. If it has an IP address on it, then these solutions can help you find them and detail them. I know some of you may be very familiar with things that look like this, maybe. Let's see. Zoom this in a little bit here. You may be very familiar with the guy that's buried in the cabling closet. You may have to go in here and rescue him sometimes. Network discovery solutions are really geared towards helping you not be this person, and use technical solutions to help you stay on top of your IT infrastructure, and basically give a automated and some relief, really, to the life and chaos that you live. Now, as far as network discovery, you may think of network discovery as going in the closet and looking around and finding the wires and finding the network components. But there are easier ways to do that, and today we're going to introduce a product that can help you do that from your desktop or server environment. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down just for a second. Sorry. Let's do this. Ooh. All right. Like I said, the product that we're launching is called UVXplorer. The product is based, hopefully familiar enough like Office products that you can jump into it and get started pretty easily. Anytime you're dealing with network discovery, you kind of want to understand what do you need to get started. And the main thing is that you want to be able to talk to devices on your network that will give you information back. There are a number of standard protocols that will allow you to do this. One of them being SNMP, so the Simple Network Management Protocol. So in order to start a network discovery, you can go into what we call our discovery wizard, and it'll help you identify what type of discovery that you may want to do. There are different ways to go about discovering a network. One is that you can go ahead and use a kind of a brute force ping mechanism, which will go through your network and actually ping up all your IP addresses and then use supplied credentials to try to talk to them. An ARP mechanism is what we call a way to smartly ask a number of the networking components like routers and switches what type of network traffic they are passing, and actually be a little bit more lightweight on your network. Depending on the size of your network, whether it's a small home, small business, or small enterprise, you know, obviously you can use different approaches. Larger enterprises typically don't like to ping large sets of IP scopes, but either way, our product is built to help you in either one. You know, once you decide what you want to do, then you have to supply it some credentials. Now, so to say if we came in and wanted to create a new discovery of our network, we can say, give it a name, and then decide whether we want to do ARP or ping suite. This is just a simple lab that we have here, and I've set it up here to start by seeding it with an IP address range, a /24 here to just go through the network. Now, there's different ways. We have little tools here to help you get started. If you maybe don't know what your addressing is like, you know, we can use your default gateways, your default subnets to help you get started. Once you've done that, you can go in and set up any kind of credentials. If there's none listed here, I've already pre-populated a bunch, but if you wanted to add one, you can go into our credential manager, which is just a simple way to either set up SNMP credentials, which might be, you know, simple things that have, if you're not familiar with SNMP was something that was created back in, I think, the late 80s that was a lightweight way to be able to talk to networking infrastructure devices so that they could share information about themselves on the network. In that world of SNMP, they have things called community names. Community names are both meant for reading and writing. For our product, you don't necessarily need a write community name. All you need is a read. Discovery was meant to be non-intrusive and more of a facilitator for IT administrators as opposed to being destructive and changing configurations. But they have enhanced it so that you can change configuration, but our product just does discovery and does reading. So once you have a read community set up, you can specify different types of versions of SNMP, which are SNMP v1, v2, or v3. Our product supports all three, and once that's in place, you can go ahead and use those. Our product is built upon industry standard protocols such as SNMP, but we also support Windows WMI for Windows inventory. We also use Telnet and SSH for allowing the capturing and differing configurations of the network devices. And then also we use the VMware API to be able to discover and document a virtualized environment. So once we have those credentials in place, we select one of them for this one, and we hit OK. And when we hit finish, we're going to begin our discovery. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and what you'll see here is a screen that pops up and starts a process of going through the network, looking for IP devices that are connected. Now, just if you wanted to know how I'm connected to this network, I'm actually connected wirelessly. So if you were curious of whether you can do this from a connected or wireless solution, yes, you can do it from either way. This solution was built to be lightweight, very small install, and can be something that you can put on a laptop and take with you wherever you might be in your IT infrastructure. As this goes along, you can see the feedback coming. I'm discovering a fairly diverse test lab that we have here, and so you'll see lots of different things show up. But as it goes through, it tries to locate all the IP devices that you have on your network, and then also it goes into a deeper type of discovery. As I had mentioned earlier, one of the things that's unique to this product is it is the result of, like I said, a history of discovery experience. I began my work in this space in the late 90s, back when with companies that were just experimenting with VLANs. So I understood the many changes in the connected infrastructure that were coming, and over the years we've built technology to help dive deeply into your IT infrastructure in order to be able to give the most detailed and I guess flexible views of the way the IT infrastructure is built. You can see here now that we are done, and we reported out how many routers and switches, wireless APs and things that we have found. And so I'm going to go ahead and open this discovery result, and what you'll see is that we'll go into what we call one of our many views. As I was mentioning, we see the network in lots of different ways through a discovery process. You can see it from a very simple device perspective, which is broken down here in device categories, as in all devices. If I want to look at all my devices, you'll see them listed here. These are the ones, all devices I found with their host name and system name, their IP address, their MAC address, and if the SNMP agent was on, it would report out some of the system descriptions, their SNMP OIDs. If you're not familiar with what that is, an SNMP OID is basically a fingerprint of a device to tell you kind of what it is and who made it. And then we also have the vendor. Now this vendor out here is actually based on the MAC address of the device. So we're trying to tell you, what kind of device it is. So sometimes if the device is not configured for SNMP or a protocol that we can talk to it on, you may want to just know and see its name and IP address so that we can kind of tell you that, well, maybe you just haven't had the management protocol turned on it. You can go ahead and connect to it and fix that. As you can see here, we have these categories of all devices. All core devices is what we kind of view as your networking or IT infrastructure devices, kind of things that sit at the center of your network. And they typically are, you would like to see them being managed by an SNMP or an SSH credential so that you can have a very, a deeper perspective of those. Then you have all your SNMP devices, which could include desktops and servers if they have that enabled. But then we break these things down into simple categories of all these devices right here are running routing protocols. These devices here are running switching protocols. The way we view the world is that each individual device has different characteristics, has the ability to be different things. So can you have a device that shows up in the router and the switch category? The answer is yes. We just label them as based on their function on the network, so you can see them in both categories. We didn't want to confuse people by putting them in either one, one or the other, but we just label them based on what functions they are. So like a switch is something that actually, as you can see here in our detailed views, as you look through these individual devices, you'll see these tabs down here at the bottom. This is a detailed view of the things we were able to discover on these devices. For example, here on this Cisco 2960, you can see here I have some simple information about the system information that's on it. Its IP addresses, the interfaces it has and their status, the bridge ports and what VLAN they're configured on, the asset information, and everything about that device, its chassis, its serial number, its version that's running, and then here's more of the modules that are within there, and then you have your links. Now, we'll come back to that in just a second, but then these are the credentials that we use to talk to it. It's VLANs. You can see here, again, I have all these VLANs grouped together, say, well, here's the default VLAN. You can see all the ports that are in that VLAN. And our spanning tree, forwarding. These things are all, spanning tree and forwarding are all things that would be characterized something as switching with VLAN. You can see here we have automatic categories for wireless controllers and wireless APs, printers, virtual hosts, virtual machines. These are all kind of the device view of the world, as in like we throw them into buckets based on what we think they are and how they're functioning on the network. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's different ways to look at your network. Oh, and before I forget, one of the most critical things that we think about an environment is not only that we can find the devices, but we can also tell you how they're put together. A lot of this software in this space will help you identify IP addresses that may be on your network. A lot of them struggle in the area of actually doing an accurate topology model. Ever since we've been involved, like I mentioned back in the early 2000s, we were part of the Microsoft Visio team that actually built the Layer 2 topology engine. So if you look at down here at the bottom, you have a devices view, but you also have a map view. This map view, I'm going to go ahead and expand that just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. You can see that we wanted to give you a picture of the way things are put together, so you can mouse over things and actually see how the devices are linked together. So from interface to interface, and also you can drill into these and see the more specific details of what we were able to find on the device. And again, trying to show you device function. As you can see out here, we have wireless, switching, and then we have printers and desktops and so forth. So this is an important part of the way an inventory product really should work is it should be able to give you not only the devices that are on your network, but actually how they're put together. But so if we go back to the devices view, we'll jump back over to what we call in the devices group area, we have a devices groups. Now these are custom areas that you can define your own grouping. Up here, we've actually defined things based on the function of a device. Down here, you can go ahead and create your own set of rules, what we call device groups, about how things are grouped together, whether based on host names, IP ranges, categories, or even VLAN. So you can create your own VLAN grouping. You can create your own groups based on a host name pattern. We have a little wizard here that will help you build you a group of devices. And within that group, you'll see a listing of the devices, but also the maps themselves. So that's the way we kind of view as the basic view is devices and how they're grouped together. Now there's other ways that come naturally with an environment like this. One is being IP scope. All right, get that out of the way. One is being IP scope, so you can look at the subnets. So here's all the subnets that are defined on this small network. Now, in a larger enterprise, you'll actually have a very wide range or diverse set of subnets. Well, you can also do these reporting based on subnets. Again, all the maps, devices based on those subnets. Now, these are discovered, so you wouldn't actually create your own. But again, you can also look at it from the idea of VLANs. So if you wanted to look at a particular your voice VLAN, what devices are participating in the voice VLAN, or a data, external, or default. It shows you all the devices and how they're connected in there and how they're participating. So those are things what we call our IP scope side of the network. So you have your devices, your IP scope. Now the world we live in now, everything is, well, the IT infrastructure is changing continuously. Like I said, I've been in this in a long time, and when I first started, people were just starting to figure out, you know, how to expand a network based on switch ports and VLANs and virtualizing behind the switch port. Now everything is transitioning to wireless and virtual, and a big part of the headache that you as an IT administrator have to deal with is what is connecting to your network not only physically but also through your wireless and virtually. So if you click on your wireless side of your infrastructure, you can look here. This kind of gives you a view of all your core wireless devices, both LAN controllers and wireless APs, and also you can break it down based on your wireless controllers. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that over the years we've learned that nothing in this space is easy. I mean, well, there are some things that are easy. There are some things that are very difficult and vendor specific. We pride ourselves on the idea that we go to deep discovery technology to find all the vendor-specific data that we can to give you the most accurate picture and details, so that you don't have to. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to go through and log into every box and look at all the different aspects of the device. We've implemented many models for vendor-specific things. For example, just in the wireless space alone, we support both the Aruba, well, the Cisco, the HP, the Aruba, the Maru. They're all vendor-specific solutions for both wireless APs and wireless LAN controllers. And the whole goal is that so that we can show you, for example, like here on the Aruba down here, I can look at the interfaces, the links, also what wireless APs it's attached to and what clients are attached to that. So just at a simple glance, you can see specifically everything about your wireless infrastructure. And now these aren't, let's see. These are actually built together based on a association links, but your wireless environment is a big part of your IT infrastructure, and understanding how things are connected there are going to be a big part of your detailing your assets that you have. Transitioning over to virtual, not really much to show in this environment right now, but the concept is that you can look at all of your virtual environments from both your vSpheres, your vCenters, your virtual hosts, virtual machines, and all your core infrastructure, so that you can, again, get an idea of how your infrastructure is put together and actually see all your virtual machines, which hosts they're running on, and how those virtual servers and hosts are connected to your IT infrastructure. One of the things that, let's see, I think, let me see here if we've gotten far enough. Well, all right. Now, down at the bottom, one of the things that you're going to see in this next part is the events. So we're going to skip over that for right now and go to reports. As part of any inventory and asset tracking system, you're going to want to be able to see at a glance simple reports of all your assets that you've found. We provide out of the box here just some simple things like your asset and inventory, which is set here to build you a list of your devices, your IP addresses, serial numbers, models, and software and hardware revisions. Now, at any time, you can go ahead and print these reports or export them to CSV so you can see them. Other reports that you can see are device connectivity, which is a detailed list of all your connections. For example, on this Catalyst 3560, you can see what ports are connected to what other device. And if you wanted to print this out and go into your wiring closet and do the diligence of looking up all those ports, you could verify those links. But at a moment's notice, you can get a report of all the connections that you have in your data center and across your infrastructure. Another report is software. I did not enable this. This discovery runs around with WMI, but I do have an SNMP agent running on one of my boxes that will tell me all the software that it's running. So you can use this. You can use UV Explorer to help you detail all your software that are running on not only your Windows boxes, but also on your Macintosh machines. If they're enabled for remote access, you can use an SSH credential to connect to them, and it will inventory the software that's running on your Macintosh and also give you a detailed inventory of the device itself along with its make, model, and serial number. Some of the more specific reports that we do here is computer systems, BIOS, operating systems, processors, and disk drives. These are all Windows-based reports you can run. I'm not currently looking at Discovery with that enabled. I do have some other ones that we can look at here in just a minute. But we will get back to that. But we dive into these deep parts of your inventory and allow you to report out here. So if you were looking for all your computer systems or your operating systems on your network, this would give you a detailed listing based on what we were able to discover using the Windows Management Infrastructure protocol. So now, related to this, one of the things that we feel is important as part of an inventory product is, like they said, the reporting. So you have those mechanisms for reporting. You have the ability to export any of these grid reports into a CSV for other breakout reporting. But also, along with our maps, we have the ability to export them to Visio, to PDF, or the SVG. So if I was to export this map right here to Visio, you'd see. I'm going to go ahead and save that. You'll see Visio open, and just like that, it's into a Visio report. And if you can see here, we also maintain those link lines and the data that's behind those shapes. So just something that's, we've been doing this a long time, so we like to support all those exporting mechanisms, especially when, you walk into any IT guy's office, the first thing you do is you look around, you can kind of see one of those Visio maps or some type of drawing, either on a whiteboard or on, pinned to a cubicle wall is a drawing of the network. And the first thing the guy will say is, oh, don't look at that because it's out of date. Well, we hope that by using an effective network discovery tool, these maps will be up to date, and they'll keep that you can continuously have a perspective of the network. And now, one of the things I don't want to miss here, there's a lot of details about our product that we're probably not going to be able to dive completely into today. But one of the things I did want to mention, and the reason I'm here today with GroupLink is what's the synergy between our two companies? Well, if you look down here at the bottom, one of the things that any help desk user or product needs is the idea of being able to link their trouble tickets to an actual hard asset or physical asset on their network. Now, in conjunction with Everything Help Desk, we've built a little interface about how you can take the results of our network discovery and you can push it into the Everything Help Desk product. As you can see here, and the way that works is simply by setting up I'm going to go ahead and say, well, I'm going to go ahead and link to this Everything Help Desk server, which happens to be running on my machine, so this will be nice and easy. And it'll automatically show me that I can go ahead and log in to Everything Help Desk. And you can see here that I've got some assets already here. So just for, this actually won't show up in the shippable version, but I'm going to go ahead and clean this. And you'll see things that will scare most people, like I just deleted all of my assets, right? Well, this is as if I was running a brand new installation of Everything Help Desk. And if you go to their asset manager, their proprietary asset manager, you'll see that they have no assets listed here. If I go back to, export my assets, through some simple clicks of connecting to their server, I can take all the assets that I have inside my discovery. As you can see them all listed down here. And I can say, well, I want to export them to Everything Help Desk. I'm going to say I'm the owner. And I want them put into the IT networking group. And I want to give them an asset status of in use. And these things are all defined within the Everything Help Desk categories. By simply doing that, I can take these things and say I want to export. And it shows just like that. I exported all those devices over there. I'm going to go ahead and close, re-click on this, and you'll see them all right here. Now, if I double-click on something of, let's see, let's go down to this boundary box right here. If I go look at that, you'll see that all the asset information of what it is, what type it is, the asset description, its serial number, the manufacturer, and also we've tagged on some extra things like that come from us, like its MAC address and IP address. All those things are automatically transferred over to the Everything Help Desk environment. And you can continuously use the exporting feature of, like I said, this. If I say, you look at this little checkbox right here, it'll tell you whether they've already exported. What we can do is we'll actually use the APIs we developed with GroupLink to verify those assets, and so we don't duplicate the assets over there, but we can keep them up to date. As you find more and more assets on your IT infrastructure, you can continuously push them over to Everything Help Desk, keep them up to date, and so that you can accurately track them, and your IT staff will be armed with the knowledge of what's on your network at all times. So that's really the reason that we wanted to talk to or present today, is that we wanted to show you that you could use a network discovery and asset management tool outside of the help desk product, but you could use it effectively inside the help desk environment. And we hope that's very effective for you in your day-to-day job. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to other parts of our product and kind of highlight some of the more unique things that that kind of sets us apart. I think we've talked about a little bit about that with our connectivity. But if you look up here at the our ribbon bar, if I went into my repository, our product is built with the idea that it takes snapshots of discovery results throughout your discovery runs. And so you can see that you can have more than just one discovery result, which is we don't just keep one set of discovery results, we keep many. And with that, you can actually set it up so that you can do what we call discovery diff. You can go into there and select different discovery results, like for example, if I went into my first one there, and then I selected another one, so I did these yesterday, went and looked at that, I can actually use this dipping mechanism to go in and say, well, what devices were removed, what devices were added, and what changed. So I don't have any changed devices, but I did show that I brought on a different switch, and it looks like an Android joined to my network between these two discoveries. And it looks like they were about a half hour apart. So you can browse down at any time and look at different discovery results and analyze what actually changed about your network. And that's one of the things that's very difficult as an IT manager, is that actually, knowing at one time what is there, but can you tell me what's actually different from that from one instance to another? And the way that we do that is we can set up scheduled discoveries. So what we can do here is I'm going to go ahead and open this. I'm going to take this one right here and open it. Nope. Yes. Oh. And then I'm going to go to my scheduled discoveries. Now, scheduled discovery is set up with the idea that I can give it a name and link back to my discovery settings and tell it how many to keep of my history and how long to remember what we call dynamic devices. Dynamic devices are things like, for example, like iPhones and iPads that connect to your wireless. If you don't want to remember those very long, you can go ahead and kick those off your discovery results really quickly. But we may hold on to them just because they may be transient. They may, either go to sleep or they may be out to lunch, and we don't want to keep notifying you of changes. But as we schedule events, like if I wanted to run this every 2 minutes, then I'm going to go ahead and enable this. If I take this number down, I'm going to get notified a lot about the different changes that come and go on the network. So now with that scheduled discovery in place, I can go back to my events here, and you can see that I've got a ton of different events that have happened while a different scheduled result was running. You can see here that let's see, this morning when it ran, most of my network was turned off. So it showed a bunch of devices that were removed from my network, and also the links that they were removed. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these and delete them. And we'll wait for our other scheduled discovery to run. But while we're doing that, we can talk about some other things because we're running short on time. Aside from the asset side of our product, there are many tools that you can use to find and troubleshoot things on your network. One of them being an IPMAC finder, so you can find any specific, like if you wanted to look at this and say find where it's at on the network. I've opened up a bad, let me see if I can find something here that's a little bit more more interesting. Let's go this one. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this. This is another company. You can see, like if I went to my wireless infrastructure here, they have one wireless controller with a wireless AP. Now look at the map here. They got tons of APs here. But if I wanted to use the IPMac Finder and said I wanted to go find this one printer, you know, find where it's at on the network, you can look across here and say, well, it's connected to this. It'll show you all the places that it's seen on the network, as in results of it's connected to this switch right here. And so you can use this tool, like if you've ever been asked the question of, hey, we're having a problem with this device either on the firewall or doing things across the network, or it can't get connectivity, can you tell us where it's at? You can use either the IP address or its MAC address to find it across the infrastructure. So other tools that you can use, layer 2 trace. By selecting different devices, you can, let's see, do another network device, pick that one. Well, that's not really exciting because they're connected to each other. So it will tell you a specific path across the infrastructure from one device to another. That's much like a layer layer 3 trace route. You can use layer 2 trace route, and then you can also ping the status of those devices. It'll tell you whether they're up or not. So I'm going to go ahead and look back at our events now. As you can see, we got a lot of events because the previous discovery did not have my network on there. So you can see all these devices from my network got added in, and all the links got added in. So it'll tell you specifically what devices got added to your network and how they got added in, where they got linked to. And that does include even devices that come and go on your wireless or your virtual environment. If your VM turns on or turns off, it will tell you those things. And this is like we said, this is a very unique part of our Network Explorer, is that you can also set up settings for email so that when I'm going to go back to that, in your scheduled discovery, you can set it up to do email notification and set email recipients, and you can be emailed with this list of changes so you're notified that when things go get added or removed from your network, you'll have immediate notification, but you'll always have that history here. If I went back and opened up now that, open that, and so now those devices are in there. I'm going to go ahead back to my tools and do layer 2 trace from, let's say, this one to my 3560. Again, I picked a bad one. Let's go down to my Force 10. You can see there's a layer 2 trace that highlights the path from that AP across my network infrastructure through the interfaces, and you can see if I ping the devices, and because that AP is not a SMP-enabled device, I can't see the IF status, but it'll check all those statuses for you. Other tools that you can use, we haven't really even scratched the surface on start versus run, but that is configuration management. So we can go in and pull startup versus running configuration and tell you the difference between those. You can capture a config directly off any device. You can do simple DNS audits of like on IP ranges. Like if I just want to go in here and just do across this IP range, I wanted to just go resolve it. I'll just do a quick resolve against these devices. You see what does resolve and what doesn't. It'll actually highlight when there's errors where your forward and reverse doesn't work. We have tools that do port scanning and SMP mid-walking, but also things that deal with CPU load tests. If I wanted to go back and look at my switches and go to my folder CPUs. You can see here that pulls up a little tool that will show me all their CPUs. Right now I don't have any data, so if I hit the start a polling on that, you can see that it'll start reporting out here real quick. Oh, I think. Oh, there you go, live demo. So we'll go back to CPU load test, add a device. Let's do that. Okay. There we go. So I'll start showing you the CPU load test on that Cisco, that Cat 3560. And you can also add devices to that, so you can stop that and add in another device to do comparisons against it. Maybe some of these other, now you'll get the 3 devices, compare them together. You can see their load. So at any time, if you're experiencing networking infrastructure problems, you can go ahead and do some testing. Other tools that are available, ping status, real-time interface checks are all there. But kind of coming full circle, one of the things that we wanted to highlight today is just the idea that we know that there is an incredible amount of chaos and pressure on the IT manager to track all the coming and goings of things that are going on the network. And we feel like our UV Explorer helps you get a grip at a detail that most products do not provide, and that it will be an asset for your team and also an asset for your help desk team, so you can take these IP devices that you find and actually synchronize them with your help desk through that link that we built with GroupLink, and hopefully that will be an asset to your entire team and help you get a grip on the ever-moving changes in your network. I know we're running short here on time, so I wanted to answer some questions I haven't seen. Let's see.
And just a quick reminder, if anyone does have any questions, you can put those on the chat or the Q&A. And it does look like we have a couple questions here, Brian.
Okay.
The first one, can you see, you're fine. Can you see switch port mapping, and can you export to Visio?
Yeah, so like I showed you here, just on, if I click on any of these switches here, here's the bridge ports, here's the switch port mapping, and again, you can change these views to anything that works for you. Here's the VLANs. We actually, as far as links, we use our link viewer to show you what's actually connected to the individual switch ports and what's linked to them. But you have different views of the bridge ports and how they're configured. And also, in general, if I went just to my map of this is basically a switch port map of the core switches. And if you export to Visio just like that, you're done. So just like that, that's Visio. But my network's a little limited in the sense that I have a lot of network infrastructure, but not a lot of devices. But if I was to open up something that, let's see, let me look at one here just a second. This one might be a little bit more. It's a little more interesting because there's a lot more end nodes on this. You can see here all the links and all the ports. This is a very large enterprise company we're working with right now. And you can see all these are all the connections from their interface to interface and connected device. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, perfect. The next question here, can you run over a WAN?
Sure. This is, I mean, this will crawl. Like I said, we use ping ping and ARP cache discovery to explore networks, and there's nothing that prevents the ability of the product to actually expand beyond just your local network and actually go across the LAN or the WAN. It does depend on if you allow those protocols in your networking infrastructure, but most companies do these days. So you can run this from one central site and expand. But you can also, one of the things, our product is actually built that you can import in discovery results and export results. So you can actually buy the product and actually run it at different sites for localized views, but they can also export their discovery result and send it to a centralized site, and it will actually, you can actually build a comprehensive model of the whole environment without actually having to run over the WAN, but it will run as long as the protocols are allowed to go across, like SNMP, WMI, and so forth.
Okay, so it looks like the next question, I didn't see if it showed a PC's connection to a port on the switch.
Yes, that's what we were trying to show. For example, I guess I'll show you. So this example right here, this is just a switch, and now we may change this view right here to allow you to see more specifically the bridge port and the connection to it. But the link right here, that is your bridge port. So the interface index, its bridge port name, the connected device, these are all end nodes. So it does do right down to, both does infrastructure and end node connectivity.
Perfect. So, Brian, it looks like there's actually a couple of questions here about how the product is licensed. Is it by number of connected devices, or how is it licensed?
Right now, well, like I said, we are a new company, and we are just getting started. But for the first, I mean, for our beta release, there actually is no node lock. It will be we haven't settled on our licensing exactly on the upper end, but we anticipate that there'll be maybe a small break between node counts at large amounts, like, you know, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,500 devices. But again, right now there is no restriction. It's the one license provides as many things as you want to discover.
Okay, and then how can someone get a copy of the beta?
Okay, so right now our website is just being completed as far as the beta download. What we're anticipating is that within the next 7 days we are going to be able to send you a link to our website where you can download the beta, and it'll give you a license code that you can go ahead and test it. And we really do appreciate any feedback that any of our users will be able to provide for us. One of the things we've learned through our history here is everybody's network is different and configured different and is running different gear. So we're really anxious to have users participate with us. Through your registration for this webinar today, we have your contact information. We will be sending you an email directly with our the download link. You should see that, like I said, in the next 7 days. We were hoping to have it done for today, but there's a couple glitches, you know, software. So we're hoping to have that in the next week, and then we welcome your feedback, your thoughts, and also your struggles too. If you're having struggles, and again, we'll look for ways for reaching out for you and helping you with your installations too.